Hi, welcome everybody to another episode of Developers Tips. And today we're going to be talking about active storage and with Rails and how to integrate that into our front end React code. So, the first thing that we need to do in order to set up active storage is to run this one bin Rails active storage install. And you might be wondering, well, what is active storage? Um, so there has been a need to store attachments in Rails for quite some time, and usually people use third-party libraries or gems to be able to do this. So some popular ones are Carrier Wave, Paperclip, Dragonfly. Um, I've used all of these in the past in various different projects. But because they are so widely used and there's so many different third-party gems, the actual core team for Rails decided to integrate their own solution into the core Rails product. And so this is where active storage comes in. Um, and what this setup will do is actually create for you a migration that will add some extra tables to be able to store attachments, and also set up a configuration file in your application. So if we have a look at config storage, you can see that the standard ones are disk, which is, uh, what you would use in development. But obviously, in a production system, you would use an S3 bucket or something like that. And that's because usually when you're running in production, you'll have several front ends running at the same time, and you'll have some kind of um, web balancer in the front end, and so you want to have a central location where you want to be able to save all of your files. And so out of the box, it does give you some commented out settings you can use for typical things like Amazon or Google or Microsoft, and you can basically get your own key, put in your own keys and so on, and your and the other settings such as the region in this storage file here. And then what you need to do is to specify in your model this has one attached method, which you then show what the actual data that you're attaching is. Um, and in my case, I've got a model that's actually called attachment, um, which already has things like URLs and names and so on, and stores information about the attachment. And the data is the actual attachment data that you can use to save to whatever storage you have set up. Um, and then once you have that, it's just literally a matter of yeah, in your controllers API, you have a look at we have like we can create a new attachment, and here is our attachment that we are when we create a new ticket, we're also attaching any attachments here, and this is the controller for the attachment. So whenever we create a new attachment, it will find the ticket that we're attaching to, and then we'll build with the our attachment to the attachment parameters and add that attachment to our ticket, and then just send back some JSON to show that we were successful, and some information about you know the creation and all that sort of thing. And if there's any errors, then we just grab that from active record, the full messages, and of course set back a status of bad request. And so then in the front end, we have a file input type, and we just say no limits to 10 megabytes, and so on. And then we essentially we do a network request. In this case, I have a ticket API. All this is on will be in the description below for TicketMule. So it's an example of how to use active storage. And so if we go into the request and we have a look at the headers for attachment, and we can see that the attachment is unlike most of the posts that we'll be making over the network. It's a multi-part form data, because that's the type of data that gets sent with a form that has this file HTML element in. So we want to be able to set the content type differently for that, so that we can pull out the data with our attachment successfully. And yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. So as I said, I'll be putting a link to the TicketMule repository, and you can see the code for yourself, both the front end and the back end code, and play around with it. Like and subscribe. That really helps the YouTube algorithm and gets my channel off the ground. Thanks. Have a good one.